Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. Once again, we have TNA Wrestling. As you know, this is the go home show before this coming Saturday, Rebellion. So we have tons of interesting matches that are going to be taking place and preludes to that. And then, of course, we move on with Ring of Honor with various other good matches. But also, we have a proving ground match. Our newly crowned Ring of Honor World Champion Mark Briscoe will be facing against Griff Garrison. However, can Griff Garrison secure an opportunity for a shot of the ROH World title? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Then we cap it up with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set. We also got some developments that I believe we definitely going to be addressing and talking about on our news updates as well. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, that all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do, of course, more news updates on alert to keep you guys what's happening in the world of pro wrestling as soon as possible. We also do the United Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or leave us a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time for our very first review, and that is TNA. All right, TNA, as I said before, this is their go home show before we head to Rebellion. However, before the start of our very first match, we have our former TNA or Impact Wrestling World Champion, Josh Alexander, making his way to the ring commentary. Now, don't forget, he is going to be facing Alex Hammerstone. So, Hammerstone is in action to take on one of the original members of the Full Blooded Italians, or as they call themselves, FBI. Now, of course, Hammerstone is watching this. He knows that Alexander is there watching him. He's no fool. But the real question he's trying to deliver is a message towards him, telling him that he's going to put him in a torture rack, which is, of course, obvious. But, however, you probably wouldn't think. However, Alexander Hammerstone decided to play a smart game by getting rid of the members of the FBI, most specifically Zach Clayton and Ray J, to make it look like that, of course, they caused a problem. But Hammerstone was able to put away little Guido when he applied the torture rack, and, of course, sending that direct message to Alexander. So we'll see what happens in Rebellion. Now, as you know, Ash by Elegance was not happy with the results of what took place. Now, remember, she was unable to compete due to the fact that she was injured, but she was demanding that they give her the contract that Steph Delander won. However, it was saying to Santino Morella that it was a negotiable. But however, they said they were going to watch this match up and close. However, Zaya Brookside, who was not happy with the result last week, getting screwed over her match, already spoken to Santino Morella, saying there's going to be a rematch, and they whine like little girls, saying they're going to call the lawyers. Well, good luck with that. Now, Jordan Grace decided to send a direct message to Steph de Flanders and all of that. Of course, Steph de Flanders claims that she will be the new Knockouts World Champion, but we will see when that day comes around. Our next match, we have Joe Hendry versus LISG. If you guys remember him, he was in Ring of Honor for a long time. Now we can see him here. This match, of course, was going to fall in favor with Joe Hendry. He picked up the win when he applied the standing ovation, and just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the GYV, the Grizzled Young Vets, teaming with Mustafa Ali to take on Jake Something and Cody Deaner. But, however, there was in fact a dilemma. There is 2-on-3. So, Diener said the people have to make the choice. Would they want to see a 3-on-2 match or a 3-on-3? And the people voted. While Matthew Renwall was bitching and complaining that people voted the 2-on-3, which was not true. They already have a partner, and that is, of course, Rhino. Now, remember, Rhino has his issues towards, of course, Mustafa Ali because, of course, Ali, who is complaining about there should be a weight restriction over the X Division. Remember, X Division means no limits. So he's trying to change that, regardless that Santino said you can't change it. But you would think that there's going to be an advantage or momentum for, of course, Jake Lee to pick up the win. But however, Ali was able to pick up the win with the 450 splash. But the real question is, will Jake Something be able to dethrone Mustafa Ali or back to the drawing board? We will see until that day happens. Now, Eric Young did a video promo to direct a message to Frankie Kazarian. So parents that now Eric Young is back to his old ways again. So he's sending a direct message towards that. Now, coming up for the upcoming Knockouts tag team match in Rebellion, we have Rosemary versus one half of the champions, Jody Threat. You would think that there's going to be a bit also momentum leading to this match. However, Havoc got involved in this match, but however, it did serve a purpose when Rosemary speared Jody Threat, and just like that, it was over. Now, once again, we've been seeing video vignettes of Jonathan Gresham in therapy. The topic of discussion was about the mask. Now, remember, Jonathan Gresham used to have a mask of an octopus type looking, and of course, here not. So we don't know what's the significance of that, but we will see when we get closer and closer. Now, our main event is the TNA World Tag Team titles, the Motor City Machine Guns versus the System. Now, keep in mind, the System has always claiming that the System works in their favor in every way possible. But of course, Alicia Edwards, that little bimbo, gets in the way all the time. And it did play out pretty well. But however, it was, of course, a combination of the roster cut and the Boston Party onto Sabin that allowed for the System to retain their belts. Now, before the end of the show, we did see Nick Bennett goes out to a promo and Moose confronts him. But the real question is, we do ask ourselves, when we get to Rebellion, can Nick Bennett do the unthinkable? Can he dethrone Moose and break the System? Well, we will see until that day happens. But as of right now, I believe we're done with TNA. Let's move on with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor. Now, as you know, we have a brand new ROH World Champion, and that is Mark Briscoe. Won this title during Super Card of Honor in memory and honor of his late brother Jay Briscoe, but also cementing his own legacy to carry on the family name. So that's a pretty good thing. However, as you all know, he'll be heading this coming Sunday at Dynasty, where he teams up with Adam Copeland and Eddie Kingston, known as the Chicken Red Hot Skins, or whatever they call themselves, against the House of Black. But Mark Briscoe sent a very strong message to them, and we'll see what happens until we get there. Now, our opening match, we have Aaron Solo to take on the bounty hunter, Brian Keith. Now, we all know Brian Keith, he's there to collect. Now, you would think that Aaron Solo would try to find ways to divert him, but there's no escaping against the bounty hunter. Of course, the bounty hunter was able to collect when he applied the flippy stunner, and uno, dos, tres, adios, Aaron Solo. So, now the bounty's collected, and Brian Keith can ride up to the sunset. Now, our next match, as always, we have Lance Archer teaming up with those weirdos, the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. They take on John Cruz, who Serpentico hates, Damian Chambers, and Savon Truitt. So you would think that this match, by watching it, it was going to be a squash match. Yes, it was. But, however, there was an interesting combination. We did see the Autumn Sunshine applied onto Damian Chambers, but Lance Archer applied the Blackout onto Savon Truitt. But, however, it was Chambers who was legal, and so is Vincent, that allowed them to pick up the win with this very strong combination. So just like that, it's over. Now, there are those that say that maybe these guys should challenge for the trios belts. Well, we'll see what that day comes. Now, for a long time, we haven't heard anything from the athletes themselves. We're talking about Daivari, Josh Woods, and Tony Nese. So now they come out sending a direct message. So we will see what happens until then. Our next match, we have JD Drake taking on Lee Johnson. I thought this was a pretty good match because, as you know, Lee Johnson come out of a match very short and not able to win the television title. But, however, will he bounce back from this loss? Well, I mean, he had to take on one of the most toughest SOBs on the planet, and that is, of course, JD Drake. But Lee Johnson, or Big Shotty, was able to apply the frog splash, and just like that, it was completely over. Next up, we have Abaddon take on Allison Kay. So I think this was going to be interesting. But of course, Abaddon did the Code of Honor. And then all of a sudden, she tried to bite the hand of Allison Kay. I thought that was just way, way, way too much funny. But however, I can tell you this match ended with Abaddon when she applied the Black Dahlia. Oh, excuse me. And just like that, it was completely over. Now, we did see a little interview with Lexi Neer interviewing Taya Valkyrie. So the obvious question I think she wanted to ask was, of course, where is Johnny TV? Because we know he had an embarrassment loss. So he's out of action, saying he's recovering from ab surgery or rehabilitating his abs. I'm like, okay, so that would make interesting, but we'll see. But we will see Taya in a trios match later on. Our next match, we have the Iron Savages versus the Infantry. I thought this match was going to be interesting because I didn't know what was going to happen. But one thing, it was funny. Carly Bravo was almost this close taking a ride into Titty City. But the one person who ended up was Bronson. I feel bad for the guy, but just dudes are funny. But however, of course, as you know, the Infantry came up short in the tag team title hunt, but they bounced back when they applied the boot camp onto Bronson, and just like that, they won. However, out of nowhere, the Premier Athletes showed up, and they attacked the Infantry, but luckily, Dalton Castle and many people of the locker room showed up in their defense. I don't know what the Premier Athletes were doing, but it's clear that they're sending a message to the entire ROH locker room. Now, our next match is a women's trios match. We have Layla Gray, Diamante, and Taya Valkyrie taking on Kiera Hogan, Trish Adora, and Layla Hirsch. So there's two Laylas involved in this match. I know it's a bit confusion. But however, I know Taya Valkyrie was not happy with the results of course, how things went to Super Card of Honor. But in the end, it was, of course, Kiera with a very interesting bridge onto Layla Gray, and just like that, it was completely over. Now we do see a little interview with Lexi with, of course, the guy who will be involved in the proving ground match against Mark Briscoe. Talk about, of course, this opportunity led to this. They admitted that they were using this whole thing um, with Serpentico as a way to rise up. So I think it's more like we don't. It doesn't matter anymore about his mask and that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, Nick Camarado comes out, faces against Beast Mortos, better formerly known as Black Tarus. Now, of course, this was a very interesting match because Nick Camarado has changed his gimmick, changed his look. I feel like this gimmick is not doing any favors for anybody, but Beast Mortos, I have to say he did. He picked up a fantastic win against Nick Camarado. But however, Nick did another interview with Lexi and Kobe Watts once again was telling him, "Follow me, brother. We'll get you back into greatness." I'm like, I mean, he is a little creepy, but we'll see. Now, our next match, well, did someone really turn off the heater? Yeah, that's what Coleman Caprice and Ira Kabani says when it comes to Lady Frost. Yes, Lady Frost in action, taking on Marty Bell. It's interesting that we saw her BFF, Allison Kay there, and now we see Marty Bell, which is amazing because I think it just shows we're seeing some familiar faces. But of course, Lady Frost, who we all know is a not the top star, but much of a star in ROH. Very impressive, but she applied the temperature drop onto Marty Bell to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have the Dark Order, John Silver and Ivo Nuno taking on Zach Patterson and Frank Milano. Pretty good match. I have to say, a very interesting combination with Uno and Silver, but it was, of course, something evil by Uno to pick up the win on Milano, and just like that, it was over. Now, our main event is the ROH Proving Ground match. Mark Briscoe versus Griff Garrison. But of course, throughout this match, we were going to see interference coming from Maria and Cole Carter, but that did not stop, of course, one of the toughest SOBs in the entire business, Mark Briscoe. But he did apply the J Driller once again, and just like that, it was completely over. So, we're done with that. So, I think that's pretty much it what we have. So, let's just call it a day. Let's move on with our news updates. My bad. Sorry, folks, I'm a little tired at the moment. But yes, I'll explain a little bit later. But let's move on to our news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with the promotions on their upcoming events. As you know, this coming Saturday we have GCW with How High featuring, we have a match. We have Broski Jimmy taking on Jack Cartwheel. Now, however, on the following day, Jack Cartwheel will be participating in Breaking GCW in Albuquerque on the 21st. He faces a guy named JKM. I don't know who that is, but yes. Also, another match was announced for Breaking GCW. We have one called Manders. He will be in action against a guy I never heard of, Ocean Avery. I don't know who that guy is. As you know, GCW will be making their return back to Philadelphia on the 18th of May. The show is called Most Notorious, and they just recently announced the debut of none other than Megan Bain. That's right, folks. Megan Bain will be making her GCW debut, so I'm looking forward to it. Now, as you know, this coming weekend we have, this coming Saturday, should I say, we have TNA Rebellion. They just announced guitarist DJ Ashba. Now, those who don't know DJ Ashba, he performed with 6 AM, which is a band that he formed with Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue. He even performed with Guns N' Roses. People call them the Wannabe Slash. It just turns out that he will be in Rebellion on that particular day to perform the national anthem. So if you guys are big DJ Ashba You should check it out. If guys don't know who he is, you should check him out as well on YouTube. Um, on May 11th, as you know, we have the MLW Azteca Lucha. They announced for a match. We have Star Jr. and Fuego. They team up to face against Arveno and Magnus. Now, later on in the month of May, we do have Wrestling Revolver with another Friday. There's going to be a no disqualification match between Steve Macklin and Brent Oakley of the Alpha Alpha Sigma. Well, good luck, Brent. As you know, I mentioned P.P.P. Tokyo's upcoming event, Fantastic Phantom, that will take place on the 27th. We have Joji Otani. He will be facing against Shota. Now, as you know, there's going to be another collaboration in June with West Coast Pro and the United Wrestling Network for the Killing That Softly. They'll take place on the 21st of June. We have Titus Alexander. He will be in action to take on Bad Dude Tito. Then, of course, we have the Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith, taking on Royce Isaacs. We do have Prestige Wrestling announced for the Combat Clash PDX on the 12th of July. We're going to have, of course, Roderick Strong making his return to the promotion. Now, Thailand Promotion set up Thailand Pro Wrestling announced for their upcoming event, Cleopatra Voyage, that will take place on August 28th. They just recently announced that they will have a big star making an appearance. They never mentioned who, but I'm kind of excited and curious about that. Now, for our developments, as you know, Suri this coming next weekend will be facing against Mayu Iwatani. However, Tokyo Sports took the time to catch the reaction of Suri reading the Tokyo Sports page, talking where Mayu Iwatani was talking about running away from this match. Yeah, she had that look like, you got to be kidding me. So she did promise that she'll put an elbow onto Mayu Iwatani. Well, we'll see about that. If you can catch up to her. Now, as you know, recently, about a while back, we talked about Freddie Prinze Jr. is determined to form a brand new promotion. Apparently, he is currently shopping around for any networks that are, in fact, interested. But he did stated that this will be somewhat of a. He said this promotion will be. It was inspired by Lucha Underground, so there's going to be elements from what he wants to put in, elements from WWE, elements from the AEW and Lucha Underground, but also have a healthy medium. So he's planning this very carefully, but we'll see how this will become until it becomes a fruition. Now, as you know, Dave Meltzer talked about Julia. Now, as you know, we are going to see Julia in Mighty Gold very soon, but she signed with WWE recently. Dave Meltzer recently talked about her. Let me pull that up real quick. Here it is. The expectation right now is that Julia is going to work both companies. The hope for the start date is July 7th, show in Toronto for NXT, but she will continue to work in Mardi Gras as a top star for a little while. Then going forward, eventually she will move to Florida with her family, and that point, the hope is that she will continue to work with the big Mardi Gras shows as much as possible. So basically, that's the idea. She'll be doing the much bigger shows from here on out. Now, Scott Edwards has given update on the factions within Stardom. As you know, certain wrestlers had to leave. Now, for stars, we do have, of course, Mayu Iwatani, Azuki, Hanan, Koguma, Saida, and Momokoko. So basically, we have the 6 remaining members. They're still there. As for Queen's Quest, Utami Ayashida is gone. So the remaining people is Azumi, Sayaka Mitani, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Hina. As for Oedo Tai, it's the same thing. We have Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, Rina, Raka, and Fukigen Death. Then there's Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Sayori Inoi, Natsupo, Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Kurata, and Aya Sakura. Then God's Eye, we have Shuri, and now full-time member Konami, Ami Sori, Saki Kashima, and Rana Yagami. EXV has Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Zena, Hanako, and Waka Tsukiyama. And there's the unaffiliated people who are not involved in any factions. We have Suzuki, Mai Sita, Tekla, and Rian. Now, I know we haven't seen Tekla for a while. We did see her in a wrestling show not too long ago where she was part of the commentary group. So it's interesting to hear that. Now, as you know, certain people don't like Dave Meltzer when he said certain things. Apparently, he said something, well, you probably would say negative towards Tatum Paxley. This is what he had to say about her. I hate that character. I hate it. It's just a waste of time. It sucked with Alexa Bliss. Then Alba Fire. Isla Dawn did it. It was good for them either. She's worst out of all of them. However, her boyfriend Javier Bernal had something to say, so he decided to bash him. And this is what he said: Dave Meltzer is a waste of time. Doesn't he need? He doesn't need us to make little fake rankings. I mean, I know certain people often say like Dave Meltzer is giving rankings unnecessary thingies. I don't know, but it would make sense about that. But we'll see what happens. I don't know what Dave Meltzer's response to what Javier Bernal says, but I don't blame Javier because he has a right to defend his girlfriend Tatum Paxley. I mean, if it was me, I would have done the same thing too if I was in his shoes, and I think many of you guys out there would have done that too if you were in his shoes. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think right now we're done with everything with all our reviews and, of course, our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. You're probably asking yourselves, was I planning to put in another review on this one? Unfortunately, I was unable to do so. I was running some errands, so that kind of put me behind. But I didn't want to waste time with TNA and waste time with other things, but focus more on what's the priority at the moment. TNA and ROH are mostly the top priority when it comes on Thursdays. I do the same thing when it comes to NXT on Tuesday. Same thing with AEW on a Wednesday, and of course with Fridays, Rampage and NXT Level Up. But pay-per-views and all that stuff, certain ones are priority, certain ones are not. So that's why you only get two. I was originally going to do Stardom, the much recent shows they just did, but hopefully I can do it on the next episode. Just not making any promises to anybody at the moment. But we'll see where that leads us from here on out. But as of right now, I will see you guys on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.